How did Colonel Sanders go from living on Social Security checks of $105 to building a franchise worth millions of dollars? All it took was 1,009 rejections and figuring out the perfect fried chicken. However, it took several years, and he finally became a millionaire at age 65. Here's a deep dive into the inspiring story of this man who wouldn't give up and built Kentucky Fried Chicken. The man who couldn't keep a job. Harland Sander.s story started on September 9, 1980, when he was born on a farm a few miles from Henryville, Indiana. Sadly, the boy lost his father when he was just 6 years old, leaving his mother with no choice but to work at a canning factory where she peeled tomatoes. As the eldest of 3 children, Harland also had to look after his siblings and had become such a good cook by the time he was 7 years old. However, he got his first job working on a farm when he turned 10. Still, he was so distracted by the owls and other animals that he didn't spend as much time as he should working, so he got fired just after a month when the owner paid him off with $2. After his mother remarried when he was 12 years old, Harland was forced to leave home and work on a farm again, as a man didn't like the idea of stepchildren. This time around, he took it a bit more seriously, getting up at dawn to feed the animals and then attending school during the day. He even did odd jobs at night as well, but dropped out of school a year later because he hated algebra. Harland decided it would be much better to stick with working on a farm for a while, and he did this for 2 years before he dabbled into other jobs. The young man ended up working as a steamboat operator, fireman, streetcar conductor, lawyer, lighting manufacturer, insurance salesman, and even a soldier. Most of the time, he had to leave these jobs because he got fired. This got so bad that Josephine King, his first wife, left with their children, as his constant job loss was getting really frustrating. Things finally started turning around for Harland when he got a job as a gas station operator. It was all thanks to a ride he had gotten in 1924 from Louisville to Winchester after a long day of job hunting. As luck would have it, the owner of this vehicle was a general manager of Standard Oil, Kentucky, and listened as Harland talked about what he was going through looking for a job. The general manager offered him a job at his oil and gas company and asked if he was interested in running a gas station in Nicholasville. Of course, Harland said yes and resumed his new job at the gas station. However, business was quite slow as customers were always loyal to the last person who ran the gas station. Since many people were not willing to do business with him, Harland tried to come up with a way to attract customers through customer service. It all started with him offering something extra. Unfortunately, things got dark again when the Great Depression hit America, and Harland was forced to sell his equipment as he couldn't afford rent. Realizing that there was no point in staying at the gas station, Harland quit his job but fortunately got an offer from Shell to run one of its gas stations in Corbin. Knowing that this was the only way he could start earning some money for himself again, Harland accepted this offer and moved to a new area in 1930. 7 years later, word about the extra food he made for customers had spread so far that people came from different states just to get a taste. After a while, he expanded the gas station to include a cafe that would take more than 100 people and a motel. The beginning of KFC. While expanding his gas station, Colonel Sanders realized that he had a problem with how long it took to pan fry his chicken. As soon as a customer placed an order, it would take at least 30 minutes of waiting before the chicken was cooked enough to eat. Eventually, he discovered a pressure cooker that could make a difference, and after many experiments, found the perfect setting to seal the chicken's flavor with a soft finish. The amazing thing about this method is that it cut cooking time to as little as 8 minutes. Since he was still working on his seasoning at the time, Harland started with some pepper and salt until he tried out a new seasoning for a fresh batch ordered for 500 people. This turned out to be the best fried chicken he had ever tasted in his life, and he named this his secret blend of 11 herbs and spices. Once again, Harland's luck ran out in 1939 when his cafe in Corbin got burnt down just after opening his second motel and cafe in Asheville. By the time he was done with the rebuilding process, most of the tourists and vacationers had left due to the war. The next best thing to do was to sell off his gas station in Asheville. However, Harland started working at different restaurants and cafeterias. When the war finally ended, he started another restaurant in Georgetown, but would be run by his friend. A few years later, a real estate agent offered Harland $164,000 for his motel and cafe. He turned down this offer because he believed that his business was in the perfect position to attract tourists. However, he regretted that decision just 6 months later, when a highway junction moved to another site and cut the flow of traffic towards his business. Soon after, Harland got the sad news that there would be a new interstate highway bypassing his business altogether. Convinced that his business was doomed, Harland auctioned it off in 1956 for less than half of the offer he got from the real estate agent. Here he was, a 66-year-old man without a job and having to live off savings and security checks of just $105 a month. However, he was not ready to give up just yet. Colonel Sanders had been toying with a new business idea to create a fried chicken franchise, which he would call Kentucky Fried Chicken. Years before, he had taught his friend Pete Herman his secret recipe to create the best fried chicken in the country, which Pete served in his restaurant. Colonel Sanders put about a bag of seasoning and some pressure cookers in his car and hit the road. He would beg the owner of every decent-looking restaurant he came across to let him cook his chicken for their employees. It was a great way to convince them to let him cook for their restaurant for a few days if they were impressed with the first bite. While on the road, he was able to cover his travel expenses by getting free meals from friends and sleeping in his car. However, it only took a few years for the tables to be turned, and Colonel Sanders wasn't the one doing the begging anymore. Instead, people came to him while he worked alongside his second wife, Claudia Prince, to mix, pack, and ship his secret recipe. The Sale of KFC. With more than 600 KFC franchises in existence in the United States and Canada by 1963, Harland Sanders had achieved the financially secure life he always wanted. Then he became worried about what would be the fate of his company after his death. Several people came with offers to buy his company, including a 29-year-old lawyer known as John Brown. They had met in 1963 when John asked to be his full-time attorney. Before they parted ways, John agreed to manage a barbecue franchise that Harland wanted to build. However, John changed his mind and got the funds he needed for his barbecue business from a multi-millionaire named Jack Macy. When they discovered that the real money was in fried chicken, John and Jack agreed that they would be much better to buy Harland's company. They offered $2 million for his company in 1963, and Harland finally agreed in 1964. Therefore, KFC was sold when Harland Sanders was 73 years old, and he later died in 1980. Thus ends the incredible story of the man who went through 1,009 rejections before he sold his first franchise and then a company that became a global brand today. Now you know the incredible life story of Colonel Harland Sanders, and that's a wrap. If there's a story that you think is more inspiring than the history of KFC, let us know in the comments. Did you like this video? Well, we're always posting amazing content like this, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching.